Hey everyone, and welcome to Bite Size Tactics. In this video, I wanted to have a look at the Tervigon, or Big Mumma, as the termagants say. Starting with the profile, the Tervigon has a movement of 8, which is okay, but pretty low for a monster. Toughness of 11 is really good, as it's one below the highest you can get, unless you get toughness 13, which is very rare. It's got a 2+ armor save, which is great because it's the best you can get, and it has 16 wounds as well, so Big Mumma is quite chunky. The Tervigon also has 7+ leadership, which is better than the standard 8+, and it has an OC of 5, which is also really good, and currently only costs 190 points, so less than 10% of your entire army total if playing a 2000 point game. The Tervigon has a lot of keywords to go through. It has the monster, synapse, and psyker, which is important for abilities, stratagems, and also the detachments you might be in, but it also has the character keyword, which means that this unit can actually have enhancements. It has a few abilities as well, one of which is the Deadly Demise D6, and it also has two inbuilt abilities, one of which is the Spawn Termagants ability, which allows you to add D3 plus 3 destroyed models to one unit within 6 inches in your command phase, which is why we call the Tervigon Big Mumma. It also has Brood Progenitor, at least I think that's how you say it. Any Termagant within 6 inches gains the lethal hits ability on their ranged weapons. Looking at the weapons the Tervigon has, it's equipped with Stinger Salvos, which is an okay weapon at Strength 5 with 8 attacks, no AP and damage 1, so it's okay for attacking light infantry squads. It also has a massive Siphoning Talents, which has a strike and a sweep profile, and it isn't too bad at dealing with a range of different enemy models, under toughness 9. The strike has less attacks than the sweep, which is pretty common, both hitting on 3s. The strike has a strength of 9, while the Scything Talons sweep profile has a strength of 7. The strike has -2 AP, while the sweep has -1, and the strike can do D6 damage, while the sweep only does 2 damage, but that's still really good if you're attacking Space Marine light infantry units, or just Space Marine infantry units in general, except for maybe Terminators. The massive Siphoning Talons can also be replaced with the massive Crushing Claws, which has a high strength at 12, has -3 AP, and can do D6 plus 1 damage, and is a good weapon for dealing with the toughest enemy units that your opponent might have. So it also lets you punch up in combat if you want to be more attacking or aggressive with the Tervigon. Looking at the weaknesses, it has no invulnerable save, so high AP and damage weapons can be a bit of a threat, and mortal or devastating wounds can also be quite bad for it as well, as it won't have any feel no pains to it. It has a very specific role as well, so your opponent will know exactly how you're going to play it. You might need to be a bit careful of specialized combat units as well, as you can get into a lot of trouble, especially if they have any -3 or even -4 AP combat weapons, but predominantly they're -2 or -3. But still, if they have a lot of attacks and have any anti-monster weapons, you could be in a lot of trouble, or any anti-psyker weapons even, because you have that psyker keyword. Also, a big weakness is that the Tervigon is not a leader, which means that if it is out in the open and your opponent just decides that they don't want to deal with any more Termagants popping up, they can just shoot the Tervigon and kill it in a turn if you leave it a little bit defenseless. The Tervigon can also be move blocked, but the main issue here is getting blocked from the other Termagant units, because if the Tervigon isn't near any Termagant units, it's not really fulfilling its role. Now, when you look at the strengths, it's a great support for Termagant units, and it can potentially punch up in combat depending which profile or which weapon you want to take. And it can even score you some secondary points, as your Termagants can form a line protecting you, while the Tervigon does something like deploy teleport homers or cleanse on an objective nearby. And it has some pretty good durability still at toughness 11 and has 16 wounds, so it can take a bit of a beating and still keep going. Also, I think this is one of the few units that can be used in every single detachment, even the Crusher Stampede, because Termagants are really good for mission play, so you might want to have a few units in there just so you can play the mission itself. The Tervigon is also a character, so it does have access to enhancements, which can make it really important and much better at combat or shooting or just playing the mission. So the mission play is fairly simple. Its role is to support the Termagant units in your list, to keep them alive, to help them score as many points as possible, and that would be either primary or even secondary as well. You could also use this unit to gain ground for yourself as well. As you push up the board, that's more of a threat to your opponent, so then you can move freely with some other units. It's also great for helping you set up on fortified objective or objectives and keep friendly units in synapse and replenishing your Termagants. Some helpful units for the Tervigon would be the winged or regular hive tyrant, as you can use a free battle tactic stratagem once per turn with them, so you might need it for a command reroll if you get wounded and need to save it so it doesn't die or take a huge amount of damage. Also, the Psychophage is pretty good as it gives the unit a 6+ feel no pain within 6 inches. The Venomthropes are also a good unit for the Tervigon as it will keep it within cover as long as the Tervigon is within 6 inches of the Venomthropes, but it won't gain a stealth ability because the Tervigon is a monster. Finally, I think this model can be situational for some players, and it kind of depends on how they like to run their detachments. However, I think it has a lot of play in the Endless Multitude detachment because you need those little units running around and doing those objectives for you. But because termagants are such a staple unit for the Tyranids, I think beginner players will get a lot of use out of this unit while learning how to play, and especially when it comes to scoring points, as you can keep bringing back those termagants and potentially scoring points as well. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, click that like button, leave a comment if you like to use a Tervigon or are considering it, and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content.